Hi, I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings, and I'm excited to do this little treasure hunt today because as I look through the gardens, just kind of panning over, I'm really not seeing a ton of color. But as I was walking up closer to things, I was seeing little pokes of color or fall interest here and there, and I thought it'd be kind of neat to go ahead and share those with you today. So let's go ahead and take a walk through the gardens here at Walter's Gardens. This is the home of the Peruvian winter perennials. Now, they have a ton of other perennial varieties as well, and I'm sure we'll be seeing some of those as we do walk through these gardens. So let's go ahead and take a walk through the garden. The first plant I came across, and actually is quite colorful yet, is the Fall in Love Sweetly Anemone. Anemone are known for their late season blooms. They're also a great plant for those late season pollinators as well. You can see there's a honeybee here, just loaded up with pollen. I love the anemone because especially this one here is compact in size. Where a lot of anemone are 3-4 foot tall, this particular one is only about 18 to 24 inches tall. So it's a very nice compact size of anemone for the garden, especially for summertime or fall time gardens. You can see here they're using it as kind of a front border, where if this was the taller anemones, they would be used more towards the center or the back side of the garden because they would give so much height. Hopefully on the tour we will see some of the taller anemones as well. So we'll just keep looking and showing you what we're finding. Walking past this bed, a lot of what we're seeing here is the ornamental grasses that are adding so much interest. I'm going to go ahead and try to get closer up on some of them as I find the nameplates, but I just wanted to show you how this ornamental grass is adding so much interest and texture into the garden. And just look at there's two of them next to each other that are totally different, but look at the different elements that they bring. This one here is a nice wispy, airy looking one. So just so fun using ornamental grasses to bring that interest into the late season garden. I love the look of Pennisetum grass in the fall garden because they've got these gorgeous fluffy seed heads and they're just so light and airy. And I love how they kind of blow here in the breeze. This here is actually the Pennisetum Hameln grass. It's about 3.5, maybe 4 foot tall or so. And with these fluffy spikes, it's such a soft feel. Where some of the other grasses are a little bit more heavy, a little bit more dense feeling, Pennisetum grass is a very soft feeling grass that adds just an incredible amount of motion in the garden. I'm not seeing the nameplate for this Coreopsis, but I did want to show it to you because this is a lot of blooms, especially for Coreopsis this late in the season. Just a whole sea of yellow. There's multiple plants planted in this area, so it's not just one plant that's creating this big clump. And I'm trying to kind of take a look to see how many plants they even possibly did plant. And it's really hard to tell. I mean, there's got to be at least anywhere from 5 to 7 plants in this area. But this is really quite a very pretty Coreopsis with its kind of buttery yellow blooms. And another great plant too that's adding some benefit to those late season pollinators as well. Crocosmia is really looking nice right now as well. This, I believe, is the peach Melba variety, which is actually a new variety that we will be introducing in 2026. Gorgeous peachy orange blooms, another great late season fall color. This plant is about 4 foot tall, these spikes are, and you can see just how they kind of also too add a little bit of motion as they blow in the breeze. Sometimes with the plants that get this tall and that have kind of this not super dense habit to them, I like to plant as kind of a companion plant with other plants that help hold it up. But actually this particular plant is doing a pretty good job of holding itself up without any other companions planted around it. So this has already bloomed, okay? So those are like the seed pods of the spent blooms. So what we're seeing here is actually new growth, sprouts that have additionally popped up since its first initial bloom, which was earlier on in the summer. So this is really cool. I'm loving that this plant is kicking out some new fresh color this late in the season. A hardworking perennial in the garden is the Geranium Rozanne. This is one of those perennials that is very long blooming. Like literally, there's always some color going on at any point in the season. So to say I'm surprised that we're still seeing a few blooms on this plant this late in the season is not really surprising at all. Look at there, you can see it's another pollinator magnet. There's a honeybee checking it out there. And that's what I love to watch, you know, this late in the season when there still is some pollinators around, that there are a few blooms that they're still able to enjoy out in the garden. And you can see there they have it paired next to some more of that anemone fall in love sweetly. So that's, again, another plant that's a great companion plant to plant with Geranium Rozanne. As we're walking through, I'm trying to find things too that are maybe plants I don't normally talk about in the heart of the season, because I feel like a lot of times, you know, you just have those plants that just are always looking great. And sometimes some of the other plants get forgotten because there's just certain ones that are stealing the show. So as we continue to walk through, that is also what I'm looking for is, are there any hidden treasures in here that will be something new that I can talk to you about that maybe we previously haven't talked about? You can see there's all this Panicum grass here right now. I believe this one is the Apache rose. It looks a little better when the sun is shining on it. Where this plant, unlike the Pennisetum grass we saw earlier with the big fluffy plumes, this has a little bit more of an airy type look. Let me try to get in the sun so we can let the sun do its thing and really shine on it. So here we go, we're in the sun a little bit better. This time of day, it's hard. We're here late in the afternoon and the sun starts to go down so early now that it's fall that it's hard to be able to be in the gardens late in the day and really get some good pictures. But let me grab some here and you can just see how light and airy the seed heads are on this plant. So definitely not like the Pennisetum grass. I know everybody kind of has their preference as to the look and feel of the grass that they like in their garden. And I think, you know, Pennisetum grass is my favorite with the puffy blooms, but there is a place for all of the various types of grasses, I think, within the garden. We're coming up on a pretty colorful area in the garden right now. And in this space, there's actually where they've used the foliage color along with the flower color to complement this area. So we're actually going to see a lot of plants that are dark foliage colors. And obviously it's not flower, but the foliage color also is really creating a special look in the garden. So first off, we'll look here at this dark smoke bush. I believe this is the WINECRAFT black smoke bush with near black leaves. They're actually more of a burgundy, but for the sake of foliage color, we're going to call it black. And it's just adding a lot of interest into this space with that dark foliage. As we're coming down, we're seeing these nice dark sedum. So they've got that dark foliage and they've got nearly red blooms. These are way past their prime right now. So some of them are starting to crack open a little bit, but you know, when they were supposed to be in their prime during prime fall season, these plants were looking gorgeous. But even now that it's this late, they still, look at that. Look how the red just really shines here in the sunlight. Planted around it is some Crapemyrtle. So the Crapemyrtle are still kicking out some blooms here late in the season. And then I always talk about one of my absolute favorite long blooming perennials, which are the Alstroemeria. And this Alstroemeria is a new variety that we'll hopefully be able to get our hands on in 2026. Gorgeous pink and white blooms. And literally these plants have been blooming all summer long. They've not stopped, they've not cycled. They just continue to put on these flowers. One little tip with Alstroemeria is they make an excellent cut flower and they'll last up to 2 weeks or so in a vase if you bring them in your house. Although I just said they're a cut flower, how it's recommended to cut them, which really isn't cutting them, is by actually taking the stem you're looking to harvest and just kind of pull it out of the bottom of the plant. That's actually, it makes the plant happier when you do it that way. It's healthier for the plant to do it that way. And that was just a little trick and tip that I recently had learned from, I believe, some of our friends here at Walter's Gardens. But why would you not put Alstroemeria in your garden? Look at the massive color for late in the season. This is such a fun grass, and there's not a tag by it. I believe it's some type of a Muhlenbergia grass, but it's just so dainty and so airy. And I love this mound that it creates. We'll try to get in close, and I'm not sure if the video will actually be able to focus in on it or not. But there's a lot of rosy red or rosy pink in this plant, and especially when you see it from a distance, it just looks like a giant ball of just glowing pink in the garden. And just because it's so soft and so airy, it just has such a delicate feel. From a distance, I was noticing all of these teeny tiny little purpley pink blooms. So we came in for a closer look, and this is actually Cyclamen that's blooming. Look at this. Is this not just a massive, awesome fall color? I love the silvery foliage with those nice kind of a soft powdery pink. And literally these plants are just kind of sprinkled everywhere throughout this garden bed. So it's really just carrying your eye through because you keep wanting to walk and look and see the next little pink bloom. I think they do have a few different varieties in here of these Cyclamen. So I don't think they're all the exact same, but I do love how it's really bringing a little life to this garden that at this time of year is not much really to be seen. Although they're not blooming right now, this Eucomis looks really great. So you can see these are all the spent flower heads from earlier on this summer. And even though the flower heads are all spent and not blooming, they still add a lot of interest and uniqueness to this space in the garden. Looks like a good reason not to trim them back when they're done blooming. Here's a new daylily. This is a rebloomer called Bright Note. Gorgeous little yellow blooms, like really very little blooms, but they're so pretty. I mean, this is such late in the season to still be seeing some daylily blooms. I would say these flowers are probably only about 2.5 or so inches wide. So they are small, but by looking at the foliage here and all the spent blooms, when this was in its prime earlier in the season, there was a lot of flowers that were kicked out from this gorgeous daylily. Off in the background, the purple we're seeing there, that is an aster. And asters are known for being a late season bloomer. They're also a great plant for the pollinators. I typically don't grow asters in my own garden just because I don't like how they split and get powdery mildew. But in this garden here, there's a lot of plants that are holding it up, so it's not splitting. And to be honest, I'm really not seeing a whole lot of powdery mildew either. This is really an exceptionally large flower as well on these asters. As promised earlier, I said we'd be finding an anemone that is a taller version of an anemone. This is a gorgeous white one. This one stands about 4 foot tall. So you can see how it is significantly larger than the Fall in Love Sweetly anemone that we saw earlier on in the video. I love this white, especially how the sun is hitting it right now. It's really creating quite a shimmer and a shine here in the garden. Quite a treasure to find on this little hunt that we've been doing today. The pollinators also are enjoying this plant because of its tall height. It also too is just swaying in the breeze, just adding so much loveliness to this garden bed. Here's another one of those really hard-working perennials in the garden. This is Dicentra Pink Diamonds, and this one literally blooms from May here in Western Michigan until here we are late in October, with it still putting on these gorgeous flowers. This actually is a bleeding heart that likes to be grown in full sun to part shade, which is, kind of not what most people think of when they think of a bleeding heart, because a lot of times they're more of a shade-loving plant. But this particular species is a sun-loving plant and just puts on gorgeous color all summer long and here well into the fall. Kniphofia is doing a really great job of putting out some late season color here. This is the hot and cold Kniphofia, part of the Pyromania series. And just look at all those flowers. Like, I am really surprised that we're seeing this much color on the plant. I love the hot and cold because I love the bicolor blooms. They start off and you can see how they change from that light yellow to kind of peachy to yellow there. They have a lot foliage, kind of a lot like a daylily, I would say, and their habit is very similar to a daylily. But the difference is that these plants, the flowers, number one, last longer than a day. But number two, they really do put on these flower spikes well into the fall, where a lot of times daylilies will bloom for maybe a month or so. In their flowers, they only last for one day. But with Kniphofia, they're long-lasting flowers, and the color can continue on later on in the season. And I should say, too, we've had an abnormally warm fall this year, so that is helping with a lot of these plants continuing to do well. And in a lot of cases, a lot of these plants are putting on new growth thinking like, oh, it's a new season. So we have had a great fall this year, so that is part of the reason why the plants are looking so good. Behind the Kniphofia here is the totem pole grass. I love the habit of totem pole. Nice upright habit, thick blades, and then you can see the plumes there just dancing in the breeze. What you're seeing there is a grouping of 3 plants, 2 in the front, 1 in the back. But just a really nice habit is what really stands out for the totem pole grass. Here's a really fun looking anemone. This is an anemone Dreaming Swan. So this one here is more of a compact variety, but what's unique about it is it's got these gorgeous, very, very pale lavender blooms. But on the back side, what we're seeing is the purple and the white. So depending on which way the wind is blowing the blooms, you're getting either the front side, which looks white, or the undersides, which have that purple and white appearance to them. Now, this plant is almost out of bloom, but I did want to show that to you because I thought it was pretty cool looking how, depending on which direction you're looking at these flowers, you could get 2 totally, entirely different looks. We've made our way onto different garden beds and different areas of the gardens here at Walters, and we just came across the bed that is actually featuring all 3 of the proven winner Alstroemeria together. And I wanted to show you this because we've looked at this many times throughout the season, showing you these flowers, but I wanted to show you here too, just late in the season, still how prolific they are. We've got summer heat and summer breeze and summer, there's another summer name, but still doesn't matter if it's the yellow or if it's the red or if it's the pink one here down on the end. All of them are kicking out a tremendous amount of gorgeous blooms late in the season. Thank you for walking through the garden with me today. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. I hope you enjoyed this late season treasure hunt to find out what's still holding on and blooming. Thanks for watching. I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings.